Goblin Maidens presents Goblin Harvest. The war against the Western Kingdom had ended. Thousands of lives of all species were lost. The fields watered with the blood of soldiers would be green again next spring. The ordinary people, the cities, and the economy didn't suffer greatly thanks to our sacrifice. We should be happy enough with that. But for low-ranking soldiers like me, no honors or promotions were awaiting us after the battle, and in my case, not even a home to go back to. Before the war, I was just the good-for-nothing son of a shoemaker. My mother passed away years ago, and I had no siblings. As a youngster, I used to think my life had a bigger purpose than following my father's footsteps. So when the war started, I enrolled in the army thinking that I would quickly climb the ranks in no time and become an officer before I was even deployed into action. But it was not meant to be. The war escalated quickly, and my battalion was sent to the battlefield before we could even finish our training. At the end of the first year of the war, I received the terrible news. My father died from a heart attack, and the house was claimed by the state to cover the family debts. 1 year later, the war ended with an armistice, leaving me and many other soldiers with no option but to go back to our hometowns. After visiting my father's grave and begging for his forgiveness at his tombstone, I did my best to find a job, but with no skills or experience whatsoever, nobody would hire me. I couldn't even get a job as a soldier due to my lack of accomplishments during the war, and I was already running low on the little money I made from my service in battle. So I decided to try my luck in the countryside. I recalled one of my companions during the war used to talk about his family's farm, and how much he missed those days working the fields, an easy job, he called it, comparing it to what we had to endure in battle. At the time, I didn't pay much attention to him. I couldn't even remember his name or where his family's farm was. I went from one farm to another looking for employment, but even there, my lack of experience played against me.
"Sorry, boy,"
said the farmer at the last place I went.
"I have all the help I need with my children, and I have too much work to show you the ropes,"
he said, but he was kind enough to ask his wife to prepare a sandwich for me. "Thank you," I told them, forcing a smile and turning around to hit the road again.
"Maybe you can find work at Trixie's,"
the farmer's wife said suddenly.
"Not again, Pumpkin.
The farmer protested.
Everyone we have sent there doesn't last more than a week. She's better off on her own."
"No, please," I interrupted. "Where can I find this Trixie person?" The farmer gave me directions to a farm far away from there. He kept insisting that it would be a waste of my time, but he wouldn't explain why. The dirt road was so empty that I couldn't hitch a ride on a passing cart. As I walked, the land became bare, with no buildings, no trees, no grassing fields, not even fences delimiting the properties. The road seemed to start going uphill, limiting my line of sight for most of the way, but once I was halfway there, I was able to see my destination farther ahead. A big red barn shadowing a small yellow house with a light blue gable roof, surrounded by some patches of green which I imagined were the property's fields. As I continued walking toward that place, the closer I got there, the better I could see the farm. The green fields were so noticeable even from afar because they were overgrown with wild vegetation. The yellow house was the color of bare wood, reflecting the sunlight, and the roof gables were a mix of all kinds of materials, patching presumable holes on what was left from the original roof. The only thing that seemed to be in good condition was the barn, built out of solid reddish wood. "Hello!" I yelled. "I'm looking for Trixie!" I couldn't see or hear anyone, so I kept walking toward the house.
"Stop right there!"
ordered a high-pitched voice accompanied by the unmistakable sound of a gun being cocked, so I obeyed and reached for the sky. Easy there! I'm not looking for trouble."
"Well, you found it, pal,"
the voice objected, pushing what I imagined was the barrel of the gun against my back, my lower back to be precise.
"I told your boss that I'm not selling my land, so go back and tell him to stop bugging me."
"Wait, what? I'm not here for that. What are you talking about?"
Eh?
Feeling the barrel backing away from my body, I took the chance. I might have not climbed the ranks as I planned, but if the army taught me something, it was how to fight. I spun right on my heels and lowered my hands to where the barrel should be, my right hand reaching for the gun, followed by my left aimed at my aggressor's right arm. I snatched the gun with almost no resistance, but I failed to grab the person's arm.
Ah!
My attacker cried, falling butt first on the ground.
Please, don't hurt me.
It was a little girl, but she looked weird. Her hair was pink, held in twin ponytails, and her skin was a greenish yellow that made her green eyes even more noticeable in her freckled face. Her ears were long and pointy, but more eye-catching than that was her enormous bust that bounced trying to bust free out of the denim overalls she was wearing. "You are a goblin?" I asked her, finally recognizing her species.
Uh-huh.
She nodded cautiously, glancing between my face and the gun in hand. I quickly examined the weapon. It was an old revolver, and for the looks of it, it had not been serviced in a long time. It was not even loaded. You know, it's either very brave or very stupid to threaten someone with a gun without bullets. I smirked at her, getting down to one knee and handing her the gun by the grip. "I'm Richard."
I'm Trixie.
She introduced herself, taking the gun in her tiny hands, her face blushing. "The old couple at the farm," I said, pointing in the direction I came from, "sent me here when I told them I was looking for a job. Do you need a hand?" I asked, offering my right hand to help her stand.
Thanks.
We stood together, and I saw how short she was. Her head reached just above my belt line. She tucked the gun in one of the pockets of her overalls and patted her butt to dust it off. Her breasts jiggled in response.
So the McDougalls sent you?
She placed her hands on her hips, and I noticed how wide they were.
How nice of them.
She commented, rolling her eyes.
I do appreciate it, and I do need the help. But, as you can see,
She looked all around the property.
I'm in no condition to pay you a salary.
I followed her gaze and saw she was being honest. Everything was in such a state of disrepair that it was hard to believe anyone lived there. My hopes deflated, and tiredness settled in my feet.
The story continues on Twitter. Follow us for more Goblin Maidens content. Thank you for listening.